Ladies and gentlemen, this is part two of our Antebellum slideshow introduction. We are to the third chunk, which is slavery dominates politics. Um, I wanted to put this in presentation mode. One of the things that we talked about in the last topic was about violence in the territories, and that white Americans were willing to murder and hack each other for their passions about slavery. This violence even reached the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. During a session of Congress, Charles Sumner, a Northern Congress member, gave a passionate anti slavery speech. In response, Congressman Butler from the South leaped over the desk and started beating Sumner in the head with his cane. There was actual blood spilled on the floor of the Congress, and this is one politician attacking another in response to the issue of slavery. So the violence that is happening out in the West and in the territories has even reached the halls of Congress. This shows clearly how divided the country really was, not just in terms of geography, but also in terms of politics. What this is a portrait of a man named I'm sorry, Dred Scott. And Dred Scott was a slave. He was brought from the South to a northern state by his owner. And when he got there, he kind of got away from his owner, got some legal representation, a lawyer, and decided that he was going to sue for his freedom. The argument was that since he was in free territory, he was legally considered free. This was obviously brought to court not only by the states, but then eventually it went to the Supreme Court. Remember that the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, and their decision and interpretation of laws is the final say. This famous court case was called Dred Scott versus Sanford. Sanford was, of course, his owner. It was an important court case because it would determine how the court, what the court's position on slavery was. This is Roger B. Taney. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and he delivered the ruling that the court had come to. They had ruled that slaves were not citizens, and so therefore could not even sue in court. They also ruled that slaves were protected as property, and property is protected by the Constitution. So this court has done two things here. They've made a decision that is adding to the tensions over slavery, and they've also, at the same time, made a clear distinction that that our Constitution protects the right of people to own slaves. I want to talk about a political party that formed in the 1850s called the Republican Party. Same Republican Party we think of today. It's a political party, a group of people that have similar views on topics and ideas. It was formed in the 1850s as an anti-slavery party. And one of its first major candidates was a young senator from Illinois named Abraham Lincoln. Maybe you guys have heard of him before. He was from Illinois and he was a senator, and he made some really powerful arguments about slavery in these famous debates that were called the Lincoln-Douglas debates. His argument was that slavery should not end, but it should be halted and not spread to new territories. This suggestion was both to please the South as well as the North. Like slave states can keep their slaves, but as America moves west, no new slavery or new slave territories. Lincoln himself detested slavery, but he understood that ending it completely in the United States would cause a huge backlash. So a couple questions about this chunk. How did the Dred Scott case divide America? And what was Lincoln's position on slavery? Our last chunk or topic here is called Lincoln's election and Southern secession. Basically, this topic is about how Lincoln gets elected and how the Southern states will break away from the U.S. The election of 1860 was incredibly divided. It showed how divided the country was. There were 4 or 5 candidates that ran for president. Lincoln, of course, ran under the new Republican Party, the anti-slavery party. And once again, he tried to convince the South in this election that he didn't want to end slavery. He just wanted to stop its spread. He was elected in 1860, and unfortunately, what it did is it caused secession. If you guys look here, this word secession means to withdraw. It means that states will withdraw from the Union. The United States is called the United States. There are states that are united in a union under one government. If a state or several states break away and say, no, we don't want to be part of the Union, that is called secession. They secede or break away. Um, Lincoln's election directly causes Southern secession. These states here will formally withdraw from the United States. They will one by one start to break away to secede or withdraw and say, we no longer want to be part of this union. You can see here in this map here the kind of breakdown of politically what happened as a reaction to Lincoln's election. Here in the north, of course, the northern states as well as some of the western states remained a part of the Union. You can see here that the Confederate or the southern states broke away and formed what would be called the Confederacy. And there were border states, states that did not break away from the Union but still held slaves. They were slave states that stayed with the Union, and they literally formed a border between the North and South. Many of you have probably seen this flag before. It's the flag of the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. This is the new republic that the southern states seceded and became. They elected a president of their new republic. His name was Jefferson Davis. This is going to cause a civil war, the Union versus the Confederacy. Each side would fight a brutal war that will take the lives of over 600,000 Americans. Your final questions here for this very last chunk are: what was the final event that caused the South to secede from the Union, and what were each side of the war called? So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the introduction to this topic. If you guys go back to classroom, you'll notice that you have these slideshow responses. This is the actual work that you'll have to complete and turn in. So you're going to have to make a copy of this document again, answer these questions, and then turn it in. And they're the same chunk questions at the end of each section of the slideshow. I ask that you guys write in complete sentences, that you answer the question in full. And I would also ask that make sure you guys make sure to attach the document when you finish, and likewise also make sure to click turn in so that I see that you turned it in. Make sure that one happens. All right, guys. Well, good day. If you have any questions about the assignments, about the slideshow, about the topic, please email me. Please message me on Classroom. I kind of wrote in that my office hours are 11 to 4. I'm checking my email all day long. I'm just getting to things as I can. So please reach out. Please contact me. Goodbye. Have a good day.